Hi people, what's up? How you all doing? Today we're going to be checking out this video from BBC Global, and it's titled "Why the Dutch Always Say What They Mean." BBC Real. I remember there was a video I did and then I talked about how the Dutch is direct, and we talked about the coconuts, and I can't remember, and how the Dutch are coconuts. They can be hard on the exterior but inside they are softies. We talked about a lot of things on how they are direct and all of that, but this is coming from BBC. I say why the Dutch always say what they mean, right? So we're going to be seeing this together. Before we dive into it, I'm okay. Welcome to the channel. If it's the first time here, good to have you here. Do want to like, share, subscribe, turn on the post notification bell, drop in the comment section what you think about this video. Okay, let's dive straight into it.
I'm afraid I can't make it because I'd be travelling there especially for you. A Dutch contributor recently responded to a meeting request. Blunt and very honest. Yeah. A stark contrast to how we speak in the UK.
British people and Americans and others to some extent
polite.
tend to sort of dance around the issues.
If you are vague or not direct, then people will say, well, come on, let's be honest so we can move on.
I was born in the Netherlands but grew up in the UK, so I've always noticed the two extremes. British politeness and Dutch directness. But how much truth is there to this stereotype?
Why are the Dutch
The
so
Dutch
direct?
are known as being direct, which means that that the messages are quite precise and clear. They say what they mean what they say. So yes is really yes, and yet no is really no. Tomorrow is really tomorrow. Whereas in most other countries, the communication style is indirect.
I'm very
Yeah,
polite.
maybe always means no, possibly means probably not. The Dutch people tend to be much more, what they would say recht door zee, straightforward, telling things how it really is, which can come as a bit of a surprise to outsiders.
Author Ben Coates grew up in the UK but has lived in the Netherlands for over a decade.
I remember just in my first couple of weeks living in the country, I went and got a haircut and then went back to work afterwards. And the first thing one of my colleagues said was, "It looked better before you went for a haircut."
Dutch directness comes from a long history of diplomacy, which benefits the Netherlands to this day.
The direct communication style is part of the consensus culture.
The Netherlands was formed based on Calvinist roots going back hundreds of years, became a great trading nation and a very successful wealthy nation during the 17th century golden age. You have a political culture which is extremely focused on consensus and compromise here.
So people learn to share ideas and come up with own opinions. And it was needed to be honest about your ideas and your thoughts and your opinions so they could find out a common solution. And that still is. It is deep-rooted and it's still a part of the communication style.
I went to meet business psychologist Aukje Nauta, who explains that this cultural stereotype means the Dutch sometimes come across as rude.
I think that the Dutch are perceived as more direct because we use less often words like please, could you please, should you, and that explains why we come across as less polite. In the Netherlands, being polite is as important as in England.
It's meant to be honest and clear, but it's often perceived as being rude and even arrogant.
The reason why cultural comparisons are problematic is that it leads to stereotyping. This means that when you look at a Dutch person as very rude and direct, you are not that curious about what kind of person he or she is. And I think it's important to be curious after each other, because then you can make much better connections than when you put someone in a box instead of being really interested in a person.
When it comes to everyday conversations, this expectation of directness can result in some unfortunate misunderstandings.
Well, the Netherlands, when they speak and learn English and when they translate the English language, they will literally translate it. If you have a business proposal and the Englishman or woman says, well, that's very interesting, I will have a look at it. We really translate that, oh, that's interesting, so they are interested. While it could also mean, well, I'm not interested and it's a bad idea.
You can never just straight up say that someone's work is not good. That instinct is quite deeply ingrained in British society. It also extends to just trying to avoid causing offence and always saying things in the nicest possible way.
And then the challenge for Dutch people is to find out what the real meaning of the words is. And we can both speak English, but it doesn't mean that we get the real message.
For example, there's a British sort of tick of saying, oh, you must come for dinner, or we must do it again sometime soon, when obviously the last thing you mean is that that person should come for dinner next week, whereas Dutch people would naturally, inevitably tend to take those kind of statements more literally, I think, and the invitation will be in your inbox the next day.
And also, of course, for the people in the UK, it's challenging to not be that shocked because of the directness.
A British person would see sort of hedging around a difficult issue or politeness and civility, whereas a Dutch person might see the same thing as being actually dishonest. It's not just undesirable, but actually an unpleasant thing to do for a Dutch person.
You can see traces of this type of transparency all over the Netherlands. How people queue, leave curtains open for passers-by to peep inside, and even how they normalise nudity.
I think to some extent the Dutch are less prudish than the British when it comes to swimming naked or going to saunas or those kind of things. Go to a popular beach in the Netherlands on a sunny day and you sometimes feel like there's more naked people there than people with swimming costumes on.
When you can't show your body, the consequence is you associate nude bodies with sexuality. Whereas when you change clothes at the beach and you see a little bit of nakedness, then it's just ordinary. It normalizes a naked body.
Although I should say, I think it's hard to be more prude than the British when it comes to that stuff. So I'm not sure how much of it is just the Dutch being more normal and the British being excessively prude, but there probably is a big difference there.
So if you really want something, just say it how it is. Just be aware that some people may mistake your honesty for rudeness. And remember, if you say, we must meet for dinner to a Dutch person, they really will expect an invite.
We've heard lots and lots of stories, and we've seen interviews, we've watched videos on Dutch directness and the British politeness, and how very different they can be. I know we've talked about this several times, but what do you guys think? And yeah, I think we've talked about how sometimes the Dutch are mistaken to be rude because of their directness. They could say one thing and that's what they actually mean, and they are not trying to be rude. They are just trying. They are very, very. And then we've watched the video of how they came about that such directness. We've watched videos on how they actually came about such directness, and we've seen that the Dutch people are very direct when it comes to business, when it comes to politics. They are very transparent. You could go to your boss and you could actually pitch your ideas to your boss. You'll be heard, you'll be listened to, and it's a little bit different, in the British system. The British people are a little bit more polite. They wouldn't want to hurt your feelings. They want to actually say no, but they'll find a way to say it very subtle, just so that you're not hurt, your feelings are not hurt, so they are just kind of different. But my own point is, sometimes it might come off as actually being rude, but with the videos I've watched and heard from them, I just feel like their intention is probably not to be rude. They're just very straight, transparent, direct. There's no time to be dilly-dallying around it. No is no. Oh no, I won't be able to come because of the. Do you understand? Instead of I have like a function, I would really love to come, but this function is very important to my family, and just say no. Okay, just say no. And sometimes it might come off as, so which would you prefer, to be honest? Would you prefer to actually hear no, or actually series, you just dilly-dally around it, you go around it, and just so that you don't hurt the other person's feelings? But anyway, let's know what you guys think, especially if you're Dutch. Do you sometimes come off as being rude? Have you been told before that, oh, you're rude, probably by a foreigner, someone who's not Dutch? What do you guys think about this particular video. And if you're not Dutch, you're British, how would you feel if, you know, if you're being told certain things, like being like directly? Would you prefer to be told directly, or you prefer to actually, do you understand what I mean? So please do well to drop your comments. I really appreciate it, especially if you're Dutch and if you're British. I really love to know your opinions about this. Okay, so do well to like, share, subscribe, turn on post notification bell. I'll see you in my next video. Bye bye.